how can coincidences be helpful to people? They can be helpful in the ways we just talked about. First, you have to be tuned into the possibility that we have them. And then you have to start thinking about how to use them. And then you start thinking about how they help us understand the nature of reality better. And this question of the nature of reality is open to a lot of speculation. And I think it's really an important thing about coincidences. There are some people, including our cameraman today, for example, for whom a coincidence was a major life-changing event. Sometimes coincidences are little things. I just thought of somebody and they call. But sometimes they make a person think about reality in a very different way, looking through the screen or the maya, the veils of reality, and trying to see what else is there. So in between the kind of interesting little one, like coming here, I couldn't find a parking space where I thought there would be, but I wanted there to be one nearby, and there was. I mean, that's a nice coincidence, is in a place where there usually isn't. That's a nice, useful little coincidence, is to find a little bit of a need. But to change your life view, or to have some other dramatic thing happen, and there are very dramatic things happening. In a way, the bicycle rider was a dramatic one because it changed his life, but some can be even more dramatic than that. And it's the drama of these things, of some of them, that are pretty amazing. And perhaps one of them that I think might be out there more is how Oprah Winfrey got to be where she is. I mean, it's not just one coincidence. So she's an extremely talented woman, but look what happened to her. She, in Chicago, in 1982, she had just gotten onto the local local TV station with her now famous interview program. But she had seen a review of the book, The Color Purple, and she was caught up very much by one of the characters in The Color Purple, called Sophia. And Sophia was age 14, and Sophia was trying to figure out, dear God, please let me know what's happening to me. She didn't understand her role as a subjugated, abused woman in the Deep South. And another woman in the book named Sophia, as I mentioned, a strong, assertive woman, became the person that Oprah Winfrey wanted to play in a movie. Now, the movie hadn't been started yet. There was no idea of a movie. So she bought the book, Color Purple, bunches of them, and started giving them out on, I guess, the Wacker Street Bridge in Chicago, and handing to people who hadn't read it. And she didn't know how to make it happen, but she knew it was something, a role she wanted to play. Well, Quincy Jones, a musician producer, had talked to Steven Spielberg about making the book, The Color Purple, into a movie. Oprah didn't know about this. So one day, soon after Oprah got on to started her TV program, Quincy Jones was in Chicago on some other business, and he turned on the TV set. He saw Oprah on the TV set and said, she has to play Sophia in The Color Purple. The rest is history. I mean, it got to be a little more complicated set of stories that happened afterwards. Oprah tells it better than I will. But she got The Color Purple. She was, I believe, nominated for an Academy Award, or got it for it. And it accelerated her popularity in the United States.
I mean, what do you think could be behind that? Did Oprah, on some level, put that thought out there, and do you think he picked up on that somehow, or what's at work behind these kinds of coincidences? I keep coming back to the cause, and
Well,
I
that's
think
good.
it's-
That's good
I think
because
it's what the viewers and everybody thinks when they encounter these things. What is behind that? How did that happen?
and here, when we talk about explanations, it's very, very important to be clear to anybody listening to this or watching this, is that what you come into this conversation you and I are having, what the person out there comes into this with, is so important in trying to talk about how the coincidences happen. Because each of us has inborn, created by environment beliefs about how stuff like this can happen. There are many people who believe that these coincidences are caused by God. Many others say the universe did it for me. And there's a kind of universe is a secular God kind of idea. I put it under mystery. We don't understand it, but there's some beneficent force out there that helps this to happen for me. Squire Rushnell, as I mentioned, is probably the most prolific writer of coincidences with this as the basic idea behind what he's saying. On the other side of things, you got the God, and you got probability, and you've got statisticians over the last 30 years or so or more saying, no, this is all explainable by probability. Well, how can both these guys be right? Both these be right? Well, they know they're right. I mean, that's one of the problems in talking about this, that many people have fixed beliefs and they're looking to coincidences, if they notice them, to confirm those beliefs. So when we talk about it, what is it that you believe? You're said about the background that led to it often gets missed. And it's very, very important to see how much preparation Oprah had to have to get to the place where this could happen for her. It just didn't just happen. But something just happened. Quincy Jones happened to be going through town and turned on the TV set at the right time to be able to see her. And he had something in mind himself. So their needs were reciprocally met. And a lot of coincidences are like this, where needs are reciprocally met, and some of them are as if the meeting had been arranged by someone else. It's as if, hey, I'll meet you over here and we'll get this thing together for what we've been talking about, but there was no phone call, there was no arrangement, but somehow it felt like it was arranged, and this was almost like that. But the probability guys will say, she's on television, he's a big traveler, he watches television, he's got to go to his hotel room. So there's going to be an intersection of the two events, of the TV set being on with Oprah on it and his turning it on. It's going to happen. And in large populations, this is the key idea of the probability guys. In large populations, low probability events will happen. But one of the ways that the statisticians talk to us about probability is to say that us normals, us regular humans, don't understand probability right. And they use something called the birthday problem to demonstrate our weaknesses in probability estimating. It's really not a fair way of approaching us. It's not fair to us because in the birthday problem, as I'll explain, we don't think the way the birthday problem asks us to think, so it's asking us to think in a way we don't know how to do. And the birthday problem is, how many people do you have to have in a room to have a 50% chance that two of them have the same birthday? Huh? I mean, first time I read that is, huh? What do you mean? How do you figure that out? And most people say, 300 or something. You need a lot. The answer is 23. And the way they show you how to figure it out is not easy. And the easiest way to think of solving this problem in not an easy way is to say, what's the probability of there not being two people in the same room with the same birthday? And you do some calculations after that, and you come up with the number 23. That's hard. Two researchers at Stanford, Griffith and Tenenbaum, seem to suggest in their research that people can make pretty good probability estimates. And they come up with a term I call suspicious probabilities, because we use probabilities, we use coincidences as a way of understanding reality. A child cries, and cries because hunger or tired, and then begins to realize when that child cries, an adult sometimes comes to help. That's a coincidence. And then they start putting it together and saying, if I cry, they'll come. Hey, that works. We find out how the world works the same way. We have advanced in science through coincidences. We're finding things that look strange. In psychiatry, I'm a psychiatrist. In psychiatry, we sometimes see a single case and wonder, does this generalize? And you see a couple of different cases, and they seem to fit the same pattern. And once you see a couple of anecdotes, then they become a case series, and the case series then can become something that can be researched in a more formal way, a randomized controlled trial, if you have the money to do it. Mm-hmm. But we build on cases to develop new treatment concepts, new treatment and diagnostic possibilities. Science has proceeded the same way, is that you run into something strange, anomalies, and these anomalies tell us there's something else going on here. In astrophysics, people had noticed that planets and galaxies and solar systems weren't moving the way they were supposed to be moving, according to current theory. And they said, there's got to be something else going on here, and they came up with dark energy and dark matter. They don't know what it is. They're saying the universe is 95% this stuff, or 5% of what we know is 95% we don't. They don't know what it is, but there is an anomaly that is an unexpected change in the way galaxies move. And they have an explanation that's not an explanation yet, but it's an opening to looking. And probabilities and coincidences, particularly coincidences that are suspicious, are like the galaxies not moving right. There's something going on, anomalous, and some coincidences point to something else going on here. And that's when people say God. But I think we can come to some coincidences, not all of them, some of we are mysteries, where we can start looking at the question that you're asking about the interconnection of minds, the interconnection of our minds and environment. I'm seeing more and more with patients how part of therapy, psychotherapy with me, with them, is having us share minds together, where they open their mind to me and I go to their mind with them. And once I get in there with them, I can help them better. I can be in there where they are and look at them with them, look at themselves with them, and help say, well, maybe you got to change this, or maybe you got to change that. I liken it to opening a hood to a car and going in there with somebody. That experience in my office, I think, also can be generalized to us in our environment outside of us, so that the mind-environment connection is much closer than we realize. We're not separate objects walking around in space. We are not separate minds the way we tend to think we are. There, evidence of coincidences, of some coincidence, suggest that Oprah's mind and Quincy Jones's mind were beginning to get aligned so that they could make that connection.